Hello. Welcome back. Thanks for being here.
I'm Nicole.
And I'm Megan.
We are the co-founders.
We're the Synchronicity Sisters. And this is our podcast / YouTube / all of the things.
Yeah. We work in plant medicine framing, conscious relationships, consciousness, unconsciousness, dream interpretation.
You name it.
We work in a lot of different holistic healing aspects.
Today's a big one, though, because we're going to talk about alpha versus beta, which is what a lot of our work is based off of, because we work with alpha archetypes. And
yeah, we haven't worked with a beta yet.
We never will.
I know.
Betas aren't going to seek us out. So if anybody, everybody's heard alpha, beta, brainwaves, alpha, beta, and we are animals, right? So in the animal kingdom, there's alphas and there's betas.
There's leaders and there's followers.
Yeah, it's the same thing with humans. We have alphas, which are the leaders, and betas, which are the followers. And, it's...
Neither is wrong.
No, I actually even highly doubt that a lot of betas really watch our channel, so it's not going to matter. But everything exists on a spectrum, meaning in some relationships, you might be an alpha. In other relationships, you might be the beta, and it totally depends. We'll even do a podcast on what's called faking beta, but this podcast is just about the archetypes. And so essentially 80% of the population is beta to 20% of the population. Now, every alpha has an alpha, but there's 80% that are beta in all of their relationships. So if you can switch back and forth between a beta and an alpha, you're probably an alpha. If you just kind of go with the flow and are always letting other people take the lead, you're probably more beta. If you really struggle with whether to be in charge or not, then you're debating whether to fake beta or not. But you're still an alpha if you're even conscious of being able to lead. So, betas are the people that just follow whatever they are told to do. If you've ever been in a work environment, everybody knows betas. If you're an alpha, you might get frustrated or triggered with them because you're just like, why do you just always do what you're told to do? Alphas are the ones that question authority, that want to be the authority or have to acquiesce if they're not the authority or the boss. But they're just leaders in life, essentially.
Yeah, we saw this really with COVID, right? It was a really good indicator. There were people questioning it. Oh, do I get the vaccine? Do I not get the vaccine? Do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? Is this real? Is this not real? Those are the people that you're that's more alpha energy. Where people that were just kind of now, just to frame it, your opinion on COVID, you do you, boo. We're not here to judge you or anything like that. But I'm just using it as an example of a really good example where everyone saw it. And people that were not questioning it, that were completely understanding, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to go get vaccinated because I need to keep my job or whatever it was, or to save my grandma or whatever. That was more beta energy of oh, I'm doing what I'm being told to do, as there were people questioning it. So there was kind of this back and forth that you saw, this tug of war that you see energetically, but we also see in the animal kingdom. Often you turn on Discovery Channel and you can see two male alpha lions going at each other for, their hierarchy, right? It's alpha versus alpha. You see it often, but so often we don't talk about it in humans. But just like you said, we're animals too.
Yeah. So, and so we've got 20% of the population that is the alpha archetype. They're rebellious. They'll question authority. They are asking why I should follow this, or, they just have the ability to kind of comprehend more so what's going on around them and really ask the question, why? So if you've ever met a 3-year-old and everything is why, essentially alphas just never stop asking, why? Like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? Like, do I respect this person enough to follow their lead? Like, why am I following their lead?
Trust this person.
You know, what are their intentions? And so alpha is masculine energy and beta is feminine. And so when you have alphas, they're very dynamic individuals. And what makes us different is that we are hyper androgynous. It means that I can be a boss bitch and like totally in my masculine and just kind of plow over everybody and everything. Or I can be extraordinarily feminine. I'm conscious enough to know the different degrees and know what energy I'm in. So I didn't always know that. I've always been an alpha. Alphas are born. So if you have alpha parents, odds are you're an alpha. You know, and like alphas are just kind of assholes. They really are. It doesn't matter if they're male or female.
Kinda assholes.
We want to develop, especially as feminine alphas, we want to develop that beta or like sit down and like know when to shut up, because that's something I've really had to cultivate.
Shut your mouth.
It's like, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? And alphas really want to be right. They want to prove everybody wrong. They want people to follow them because they know better. There can be this kind of arrogance to them. And so it's very, very important for alphas to develop consciousness. Because if not, then you are a dark alpha. So 10% of the population is a dark alpha. And they're essentially in survival. They're in fear. These are the pimps, the drug dealers. They run the underworld, essentially. But they are alpha. You know, the majority of our politicians are probably dark alphas.
The drug dealers.
You know, it's just like leaders in darkness, right? And they rule by fear. And then we have light alphas, and light alphas are conscious alphas. They have developed both their masculine and feminine energy. They're very balanced. They rule and lead in love and what's best for humanity, not what's best for self, what's best for humanity. And remember that we've talked and the alpha is masculine. Healthy masculine seeks to serve, not to be served. If you are dark alpha, you seek to be served, not to be of service. So, you know, this is why alphas, you know, Marcus Aurelius, Stoicism, this is a really good place to develop that. Microdosing has really helped me develop my softer feminine energy because I didn't understand the value of softness. And it's just extraordinarily important. Because betas don't necessarily need to learn that. They're very passive in general. Alphas have to learn it. And this is why we mainly work with alphas. We teach alphas how to lead consciously, because that's what we have developed. And this is why this is a very important podcast, because this is literally the archetype. And alpha is actually a brainwave in the brain, if you know anything about brainwaves.
It's the highest brainwave. And right,
gamma is
gamma, but gamma is extremely. Most people cannot reach gamma. Most people don't go into gamma unless you're sleeping. So alpha is the functioning what?
Gamma is it not sleep?
I thought gamma,
theta, delta.
When you're going down, we went the wrong way. I was thinking that gamma goes up. My bad. So gamma is not achieved in sleep. I went the wrong way in my brain. I had that flipped. Gamma is only like you can reach it like with ayahuasca and stuff like that, but normally most conscious human beings don't hit gamma.
Meditation, yeah.
It's normally when you're working in high levels of meditation, hypnosis, when you're in a completely different brain state.
It's a weird brain state.
It's a weird brain state.
We've both been in gamma. That is wild.
It's an
experience.
It is an experience for a different podcast. But yeah, it's a brainwave. It's an alpha, but it's also like the highest level of conscious brainwaves that we can be in. But also, it's that brainwave that allows us to. A lot of times alphas succumb to addiction because of the mind chatter, which exists in alpha waves.
Right. You can't quiet it. You can't shut it off.
Right. And so you hear a lot of like addicts, alphas, like, alphas have a tendency, actually, I've never met an alpha that wasn't in some form of addiction, whether it's work addiction, drug addiction, alcohol, whatever, but it's channeling that into positivity. Like, where is it going? Are you going into substance, or are you going into higher self? Like, where is that happening? And betas don't have this. Like, they don't have the brain chatter. Most of the times they don't have addictive problems, or like you don't hear them as often talking about struggling with turning off the mind chatter or turning off choice. And it's something that we see often with our clients that come to us. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't shut my brain off.
Well, betas can't sin. And yes, they don't have choice. They just follow their alphas. It's exactly what you said. But only alphas can sin.
Right.
Only alphas can do right or wrong, and the betas follow them.
Right. But if you're kind of questioning yourself, of like, you're listening to this and you're like, am I an alpha? Am I a beta? I don't know. Well, I think what you have to ask yourself is, do you have the understanding of right or wrong choice? Do you have mind chatter? Right. And that's usually, like, where are your tendencies at? Do you have a shopping problem? Are you addicted to money? Are you addicted to gambling? Are you addicted to something? And it doesn't have to be a substance, but usually that is a really good indicator that you're an alpha.
Yeah, and alpha women have 3 archetypes, right? The mother alpha. It's the most dangerous of all of the alpha archetypes. Though betas can be mothers.
Yes.
Alpha women are the ones that stay being a mother and emasculate their sons and create pro-alternices. If you want to listen to that podcast, go listen to that podcast. Trainwreck, been there. So mother is the most dangerous. Then we have the Amazon woman, which is basically the boss bitch. She's completely disassociated. If you've never had an orgasm, or you struggle orgasming with a partner, you are so in your head, disassociated from your body, and you are an Amazon woman.
And most likely these women usually are very addicted to the material world.
Yes.
A lot of like Chanel and Gucci, like they make so much money and they're just like always
collapsed in the material.
Super collapsed in the material. They're always like flaunting their Cartier and they're la 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 la. And they have to like talk about it because it validates them on the material plane. But a lot of times they're very sad individuals, and they love alcohol. They love martinis.
Yeah, they can drink a lot too.
Yes. They're a good time though.
But masculine rules the material plane, feminine rules the ethereal or oxygen, right? And then the other one's the playgirl. So women that are hypersexual, like all the girls on OnlyFans are playgirl alphas. You know, they're manipulating men with sex. They're addicted to sex. They sell sex, and you know, who's addicted to sex is a man. So again, alpha is masculine. So when you're collapsed into that, you are being a man, even if you're in a woman's body, which is totally fine. But are you doing good or doing bad? Because masculine has to do good to feel good. So if you are in your alpha energy, you need to look at, are you being of service or seek to be served? And mothers, Amazon women, and mothering past a certain age is seeking to be served because they still want to be loved by their children the way they were as babies, which life changes. And the opposite is true of men. So men that still act like children, per our turnuses, are the mother archetype in a man. Playgirls in are still playboys. It's like men that sleep around and are players are still that same archetype, but they're collapsed into their feminine. So even men that are hypersexualized are dark alphas, and are not happy and are in a very, very dark energy. Hypersexuality is more accepted in men and has been, but it is still the road to a very dark place, and it is still seeking to be served, not to be of service, because being of service would be raising children and cherishing your children, not out sleeping with a bunch of women.
And building an empire and inspiring other men to do better and be good fathers and, you know, setting an example in the world. Like what alphas do. Like, and alpha men in high vibration set an example. Low vibration alphas, they will set your life on fire and be like, bye, I'm out.
And then we have the Amazon archetype in men, which would be basically like the man that is an alpha and just wants to be a stay-at-home baby daddy.
Yeah. There's a lot of those.
That just doesn't want to work, is lazy, has no ambition. That's that wound in the masculine. So it's opposite, because men and women's energy frequency is opposite. Not that there's anything wrong with a man staying home that is a true beta. And that's worked out. But if the wife doesn't want it and it's a big fight and he's just like not contributing correctly, it is actually a wound. Just like it's not a problem for a woman to, we own a company, we are boss bitches, but you have to find balance. And that's what most alphas really struggle with, is balance.
We're extremists.
We're so extreme.
So extreme.
And it's very hard to balance our brains, to balance our bodies. And, the left lobe is masculine, the right lobe is feminine. And it controls, so the left side of the body is actually feminine, the right side is masculine. So it flips. The lobes are opposite, because the opposite lobe controls the opposite side of the body. Just like the body's feminine, mind is masculine. We have to find this balance, heart feminine, mind masculine. If you don't have coherence with all of these things, your trauma has created disassociation, and disassociation is trauma. And disassociation is dark alpha. Disassociation is wanting to be served instead of being of service. And we have to find balance, and we teach balance.
Yeah, and if you are listening to this and you're like, oh, this is really something I want to know a lot more about, we actually have a full 2.5-hour alpha class. You can access it. There will be a link at the bottom of this, but you can also access it through our link tree on our social media. It's a go at your own pace. It's super, super in depth. Megan built it out. It's a lot of information. But with that class, you get access to asking us questions and kind of picking our brains about it if there is anything that you do or have questions about, because it's a lot of info. But we dive super deep specifically into the alpha woman in that class, and how to heal it and how to identify it, and just kind of overall being able to, it's a great place to start if you're on this journey of like, oh, wow, realizing that you're an alpha.
Yeah, and just, realizing that alphas are, all humans are androgynous, but alphas are hyper androgynous. So being aware of that and kind of understanding like what's going on in our culture right now with like, gender dysmorphia and all of the stuff going on, that those children are actually alphas. We were tomboys growing up. In this generation, we probably would have been thought to be, something totally different. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Gender fluid.
Versus just alphas. So that didn't have a lot of guidance from our parents on how to be healthy alphas. And so this is why we're teaching, no matter who you love, who you have sex with, don't care.
Alpha is alpha.
Alpha is alpha. But it's understanding why you're making the decisions you're making and why you're making the choices that you're making, and making sure you're doing that from an empowered place and not from a place of programming is what we strive to do. And especially with the confusion that's going on in the world today, it's really, really important to know thyself. That's why it was written on the wall of Delphi, the oracle. If you know yourself, then the world can't fuck with you. And so, or at least not to the extent that a lot of people are fucked with, or I was.
Then the alphas start fucking with the world.
But
the script, because they play the game.
If you identify with this, we're so excited to have you here. Please subscribe, join our community, follow us on Instagram, just get involved. And we would love to hear your comments below. If you want to know more about this science, more about all of this, again, it all relates back to brainwaves, how much you spend in alpha versus beta brainwaves. So that's the science behind it. Ego dystonic also has to do with alpha. We will do a podcast on that. So look for that in later episodes. And just thanks for being here.
Yep.
And
bye.
Bye.